So good afternoon, everyone. I guess I'll start this off. My name's Kevin
Oh,
Shoemaker.
hey, Kevin.
No. Okay.
Before that, there's I got to kick it off here.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. So, welcome everyone to our advisory design panel meeting, which takes place on the unceded traditional territory of Squamish Nation. I guess first on the agenda is an adoption of the agenda. Do I see a first? I actually can't see anyone right now on my stack here, so let me just open that. I see Sarah. Thank you,
David
Sarah.
waving his hand.
Yeah,
All right. Seconder,
David.
David. Yeah, all in favor. Great. Got the minutes from the last meeting. Sorry, for February 7th. Oh, no, that's the meeting here from July 21st. Any comments on those minutes that we want to add? I see none. Can someone move those minutes? Sarah, second by Kareem. Excellent. And so first up for business is Garibaldi Springs Lot B development permit application. Jesse Abraham is the planner, and I'll let you take it away.
Great, thanks, Carlos. I will give a very brief intro and then I'll pass it off to the applicant to make their presentation. Sorry, when. So the application before you is a development permit application for Garibaldi Springs Phase 2. So this is a 4-phase residential development. Access for this phase is off of Dowwood Drive. It is a steeply sloping site and must conform to the requirements of RM4 zoning. There are 2 variances requested to vary minimum driveway length and to vary maximum height. More information is provided in the staff report regarding this. The development conforms to all other requirements of the zone and the land development agreement as detailed in the staff report. The property is located in a flood hazard area and the applicants have provided a flood hazard assessment to be registered on title with flood covenant. The site is also located within a wildfire hazard area and the applicant has provided a wildfire hazard assessment that must meet the requirements of DP Area 11 for wildfire hazard. A few things to note is that we are still awaiting some details and we'll be going back to the applicant on the following items. So we still need some more information on adaptability within units. Exterior bike locations still need to be confirmed. Waste storage areas need some review still. So there are 2 shared waste and recycling facilities on this site. And some further details are needed in terms of landscaping and lighting. So today, staff is seeking ADP comments and recommendations regarding form and character of the proposed development, specifically looking at architectural design. We are seeking feedback on building form and orientation, facade, roof lines, street orientation, and design of entries, as well as usable outdoor areas. We're also looking for feedback on building materials and exterior finish, as well as the landscape plan, so including plantings and the design and accessibility of common spaces and amenities. And with that, I'll hand it over to the applicant to give their presentation.
Thanks, Jesse. Sorry, I got a little fired up there at the beginning. It's like I've never done this before. Just quickly, my name is Kevin Shoemaker. I'm with Polygon Homes, and I've got Mark Blackwood and Ryan Boyanzek, who are the architects, and then Travis Martin, who's the landscape architect here today with Vander Zam, and the Kissiks are the architects. So just quickly, there are a few new faces. So, this is a master plan, 119 acres, 96 acres we're giving back to the district as park and eco reserve. A lot of the eco reserve has been developed. We're just in this final stage of planting it out. This is, as Jesse said, the second phase. There's 10 in this group. There's 10 affordable townhomes, 6 of which are 3-bed, 4 are 2 beds. A few other interesting things that are happening here. One is we're doing lock-off suites within a townhome. We build, throughout the Lower Mainland, 1,000, 1,500 homes a year. This is the first time we're doing this. I think I congratulate Squamish for the innovation of allowing us to do that. I think it's a great way to gently introduce some density, putting the secondary suite in a townhome. And the other thing I'd mention is this is the first time we're going to be building a step code 4 project anywhere in our portfolio anyways. So lots of work going on to see how we're going to get that done. So with that said, I'll just pass it over to the architects and can walk us through the design.
Hey everyone, my name is Ryan Wyanzik. I'm one of the principals at Acoustics Architecture and the lead on this project. So this is Garibaldi Springs Lot B, or what we're calling terrain. This is the second phase of development at Garibaldi Springs. So a quick rundown of our vision. We are taking our cues from kind of Scandinavian architecture as it relates to our styling and character. We're looking to provide a number of housing options across the site of various sizes to create community that all could live at. We are looking to develop a continuous and public and private multi-use pathway system that connects down from Dowd and across through all of these sites and into the adjacent park areas. And we're looking to incorporate a number of sustainable measures across the development, including meeting step code 4, as Kevin said, and providing EV charging to all homes. As I noted, the architectural influences come from the surrounding areas, but we put a contemporary twist on it. We're taking our cues from the Scandinavian architecture, so focusing on simple, clean lines, distinct gable forms paired with contemporary window forms and groupings really give the development a unique character. Fiber cement vertical siding, along with a crisp, clean color palette, horizontal plank and select brick elements, metal shadow boxes and canopies help the exciting architectural character that Squamish is known for. The use of large glazed openings help bring the inside out, which is kind of a key feature of the Squamish area. As you can see here, here's some of the materials and kind of ideas for detailing that we've taken into consideration. So here is the proposed color palette. So we've got 3 color schemes that we've applied across the site. Our vertical siding tends to be applied to our key massing elements, so the gable forms. Our horizontal siding has been applied to the base of the building, grounding the buildings. So again, I've noted the color schemes are quite crisp and clean, which we're quite excited about. A high-level look at the site plan here. As Kevin noted, we've got 127 homes of varying size across the site, including affordable homes and lock-offs. We have 10 affordable homes, 17 lock-offs have been provided. We have approximately a 40-meter grade change from top to bottom. So we've oriented the buildings to kind of follow the natural topography, and we're using the building foundations in combination with retaining to kind of make up that grade change. A large outdoor amenity space has been provided at the lower end of the site, which Travis will get into shortly. Again, just a high-level look at the site plan here. At the top of the site, we've got our grouping of duplex homes. The affordable homes have been distributed across the site, so they're not all grouped in one area. As noted by Jesse, we have 2 garbage and recycling holding areas across the site for access for the residents, and then our amenity space on the lower bench of the site. I'll hand it over to Travis quickly to go through the landscape elements.
Thank you, Ryan. Ryan already gave a comprehensive overview of the site, so I'll focus on a few of the elements that impact the landscape experience. One major element is the walking path that was mentioned. That's dashed in pink on this plan. and it reaches down from the north, down the south, and up through the center of the amenity space. As well, we also have a walking path linking to the lock-off units, and that's the one in the center of the project there behind those townhomes. Secondly, significant time was spent honing the terracing of the site, so that, as Ryan mentioned, we are following that topography, the natural topography, and creating yards that have a pleasant outdoor spaces across the hill slope area. So while much of the character of the site comes from the architecture and the surrounding natural spaces, the landscape seeks to accentuate access to nature and local vernacular with the use of site quarried stone when possible. The images below in this slide here show stacked stone walls that will terrace the site, as well as attractive privacy and yard fencing. And where possible, transparent fencing will help the rear yards connect to the surrounding natural lands. This is particularly notable along the south and southwest rear yards on this project here. What's that sort of south peninsula looking element where we're really directly adjacent a lot of forested area. Next slide, please. So this one shows that typical section in the south area where we've got an elevated yard, a nice patio, an open yard lawn, and then just looks out to the beyond. And so we're just trying to show how all these units are really being enhanced by the surrounding landscape. Next slide, please. And then here's one of our more complex sections along the hillside, which maximizes yard space, provides a vegetated screen on the top yard to help reduce overlook, and then provides vegetation along the wall bases to provide a year-round green views for that lower unit looking into the backyard. And then we've got, again, generous sized patios and lawn space to the back. Next slide, please. So looking into the planting, as was noted, the site comes with a few challenges. One is being fire smart, and the other is being bear aware. And so our design seeks to provide strong evergreen presence while respecting fire smart guidelines, which minimize conifers, which are more flammable. Also being bear aware while using interesting native species that are not always used in development, as well as a mix of pollinators and color. And for trees, we're mostly deciduous, well, all deciduous trees, mostly smaller flowering and ornamental trees, and then also some shade trees in the mix. Next slide. And finally, on this lower amenity area, it's well linked to the perimeter walking path. There's that lower nature area to the southeast, so you can like, look beyond, and it's also a longer space, which helps make it feel larger than it actually is, but it's a good size. So we focused on the center with a nice little seating area with a few picnic tables and a gathering space. And then beyond that, there's an open lawn, some natural play, including large boulder and ropes. We're hoping to get those boulders from the site if possible, as well as sort of a boulder log obstacle courses there to the right and a seating circle to the south. And I think I'll pass it back to Ryan now.
Okay, thank you. So getting into the character and the unit types a little bit more specifically, what you're seeing here are A homes, or what are known as the affordable homes. So as Kevin noted, we have 10 of these homes across the site. We have 6 3-bedrooms and 4 2-bedrooms with approximately 1,000 square feet. Each home has 2 parking stalls, one in and one either on the driveway apron or a remote location nearby. These homes are designated as affordable without sparing any detailing or expenses. So they look and have been designed to look like all the other units. The B homes are our most common unit across the site. We have 36 uphill versions of these homes and 35 3-story versions of the homes down on the lower bench. The approximate size of these homes is approximately 1,500 square feet. 3-bedroom homes typically. Our C homes are downhill homes, and we have 38 of these, 19 of which have lock-off suites on the lower level. So the non-lock-off would be a 4-bedroom, 3-level home. The lock-off versions have a 1-bedroom suite on the lower level, and then the main suite is a 3-bedroom, 2-level home, approximately 2,150 square feet. And again, these lock-off homes have been scattered across the site at various locations. The D homes are our duplex homes that you will see when you enter the site, coming down from Dowd and through the Highline property. We have 8 of these homes on the site at approximately 2,600 square feet. 3 bedrooms, plus a large walkout basement. So getting a little bit more specifically into the housing diversity across the site, you can see our standard 2-bedroom affordable home. We've currently developed a 3-bedroom home as well, of which 6 will occur on the site. And the purple plan you can see is our lock-off version of the C plan. So 2-story townhome with 3 bedrooms up, and then the 1-bedroom lock-off suite on the lower level. And this is our standard 3-story townhome, 3-bedroom home that occurs all over the site. And our duplex home, again, that you'll see at the beginning of the site. Each bedroom has its own ensuite. So quite a nice home, almost a single family home-ish. Just another version of that plan. Just a quick site section to kind of demonstrate how we're working with the natural grades across the site, and just to kind of show the challenges that we had while grading the site, it being quite a steep site. Some context photos. There's going to be some great views from these homes once we get going, as there are on Highline, which is currently under construction. That is the first pocket of development on this master plan community. And then again, just kind of quickly touching on the sustainability items that we're looking at on this site. As Kevin noted, we are going to be step code 4. So that is a first for Polygon. So we're already looking at things that will need to be done in order to meet that. And again, like Highline, we will be providing electric vehicle charging capabilities to all homes. And everything will be all electric, so no gas or natural gas appliances. So that is our presentation. We will leave that there. Let me just see how I can unshare my screen. There we go.
Okay, thank you very much. Just for the admin, there's an email sent to Jordan McCauley, from Jordan McCauley. I think he's I'm assuming he's an ADP.
I've made him a
there we go.
panelist.
Well, I'm in now. Thank you so much.
There we go, Jordan. Hey.
I was able to see the presentation, so it's all good.
Yeah, good to see you again. Sorry, I recognize the face, but not the name. Okay, so reminder to all panelists, we're going to go.
And Carlos, not to interrupt, sorry, Brent also sent the same email saying he wants to be a panelist.
Brent?
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. I don't see Brent yet, but I'm hoping he'll come in. I'll put him at the bottom of the list. So just a reminder, we'll start with a round of comments and then go through and ask a round of questions. And so I'm going to start. Hopefully you're okay to start, Sarah, but oh, there's Brent. Good. Excellent.
Hi, yeah, I sure am. So at the beginning, Jesse had mentioned that there was going to be potentially some adaptable suites. Is that true?
Problem, unfortunately, with this site, we've got 310 homes at Garibaldi Springs, of which 15% of them are adaptable. We've got 2 challenges on, so phase 1, 3, and 4 will have adaptable units. We have 2 challenges on this site. One is the lower homes are in the floodplain, so we can't have living space at grade. And the remainder of the homes are built on a steeply sloped site, like carved into the site. So again, we can't have 1 or 2 level homes. So this, unfortunately, this one is more typical of a 3-story, like Sea to Sky or anything like that, where it's a 3-story townhome project where there's an entry on the grade level with parking.
Okay. And can you tell me what's the length of the parking, the driveways?
They are going to vary. So there's some, and that's again to the reason why we're asking for this variance is for the topography, right? So in order to make the grades work, we have to be a little more than 0, and we can't be 6 meters, which is Squamish has this bylaw that I don't agree with for a lot of reasons, but so they will vary. They will be down to very short to Ryan, what would be the longest one that we would have?
The longest one would accommodate a full vehicle length. So we're exceeding the parking requirements on some of the driveways in terms of length.
Can you give me that me-
Sorry, you cut out at the end there.
can you give me that measurement of what a regular size vehicle is?
I believe it's 5.9 meters. But some of them, a lot of them are longer than that. So
Okay, and then can you tell me what the width of the staircases are within the units?
they vary from, I believe, 3'1" up to some of the homes are wider at approximately 3'6".
Okay, great. Thanks. That's all my questions.
Thank you.
Sarah, can I just say one last thing? Polygon does have a policy with anyone coming to buy a home. We will convert the home to the best of our ability to be suitable for someone that is maybe unable to easily get up the stairs, or whatever that takes. But that's for the first purchaser. But I just want to put that out there. And that's been a long-standing policy, and we've done that on numerous occasions in 3-story townhomes. There can be things that can be done to help.
Noted. Okay, thanks, Kevin. It's a good thing to note, but I'll ask no more extra commentary if you can. Thanks. Okay, Luke.
Thanks, Carlos. Yeah, I was just wondering the bikes that are required within each townhome. Where are the points you're proposing to put them? I saw in the 3-bed it seemed like there was an area for it, but in the garages that are significantly smaller, were you putting them in a different spot or?
So in the B homes, as well as the affordable homes, they are at the back of the garage. So there's plenty of room in there to accommodate two bikes, if not more. The C homes will be wall hung at the back of the garage, as well as the D home. So it's a combination.
Okay, so basically, will there be enough space to fit 2 bikes and 2 cars?
That's correct. Yes.
That's correct. And in the driveways that your rationale is that you're getting the variance for the driveways because the site's too steep. You said that was correct?
That's correct. Yeah. So the additional driveway length will allow us to kind of deal with the road grades and kind of building finished floor elevations a little bit better. So rather than kind of having warped driveways, the longer driveways will allow us to kind of meet those grades a lot better.
So, like, if people, my concern is that if people are parking, putting bikes and things in the garage, and they can't park in the garage, is there space? Because you're varying the length of these driveways. Like, people need to really be able to park on the driveway. So, can they get because they're all different sizes and they're varying? What's like, do the units that are tighter, do they have the bigger driveways, or did you give them that? It's really hard. There's quite a lot of information on the drawings to be able to sift through?
It wasn't specifically laid out with that thinking, but we can certainly look to see where we can accommodate potentially longer driveways if that is a concern.
Luke, if I can speak to that for a moment, the variance isn't because we don't have long driveways. The variance in the Squamish, you can have no driveway apron and there would be no variance.
Mhm.
What the variance is for is because we have some aprons that fall between none and I think 6 meters or whatever. Squamish has this bylaw that there can't be anything in between those two.
Yeah, they've got to be greater than 6 meters. Yeah.
Or nothing. So
Or
we've got
nothing.
some that are in between.
Okay.
We could have had no apron at all, and there'd be no variance.
Okay. Could you shed some more light? I apologize, I wasn't involved in ADP at the earlier stages of this master plan, but how does this site integrate with the surrounding context? For instance, like how does pedestrian and vehicular routes connect with this site?
So we're coming down off of Dowwood. So High Line, which is the first pocket of development that's currently under construction. We have access coming from Dowwood that provides access to that lot. Terrain will be a continuation of that road down south from High Line to access all of these homes from Dowwood. And then around the perimeter, we are trying to meet the grades as best as possible. I think there's a couple of localized areas where we do have some retaining, but we are using those natural edges to the best of our abilities.
Okay, so if I was driving up Dowad like lower, like how would you get as a pedestrian? How would you get to that southwest portion of the site?
We do have a multi-use trail that connects from Dowwood all the way down through the site as well. So that follows High Line again, which is currently under construction. It follows along the Strata Road and then connects east-west once we get to the midpoint of the site.
I should also say that on the drawing that we had, there was a bit of a mistake where there was pink lines that showed the pedestrian trails. The one that was running across the site should have continued out of the site running north to Dowwood. There was a bit of an error on that drawing. I didn't notice it until we showed it.
Okay, could you show me that, please? I'm just trying to understand how the pedestrian connectivity moves through the site, or is it just intended that people use the sidewalks?
Let me open that up again, and we can jump back to that page.
Thanks.
Go. So in the top right corner here, the Strata Road would then continue up past High Line Lot A, which is currently under construction, up to Dowwood.
Yeah.
The multi-use pathway follows along that Strata Road as well, all the way up to Dowwood. It then comes down to the bottom of the site and connects through the amenity building and then over to the west.
And just, sorry, Ryan, to add one thing, it also goes out to the south. Like where there's that bulb at the bottom there, there's a major path that goes south out of the site and north out of the site. And that connects everyone from Dowwood all the way down to Newport Ridge Drive, ultimately.
Okay, sorry. So there's a pedestrian connectivity down on the southwest where there seems to be a cursor there, I think. Oh, it's gone now.
No, sorry, Ryan, not there. Down that right there.
Yes.
So there's a pedestrian connectivity from there that goes across and down to like Tantalus Road, or like towards where the old golf course used to be. Sorry, it's just really hard to see. There's no context included on this, so it's really hard for me to understand where this is connecting to.
Is there not a context plan one back, Ryan? Or I thought we had a context plan in there. Yeah. So the path goes down all the way down to C and D, which are the two townhome sites down at the bottom on Newport Ridge Drive. And it also goes over to the orange area where Norman Rudy's is and the hotel.
Okay.
And then it goes, yeah, then it goes up to Dowd, either straight up beside Lot A or over sort of northwest towards the lower part of Dowd.
Okay. And is there any pedestrian, like mid-block pedestrian connectivity within your site, like such as where the T stubs are, or connecting up through the middle?
Not currently, no.
Okay. Okay, sorry, I've taken quite a bit of time there, so I'll leave it at that for now, and I'll circle around if I have any more questions. But thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Luke. Julian.
Thanks, guys. Could you point me to where the snow dump storage is on the plant?
We haven't considered that right now.
Uh-huh.
So,
Okay.
Sorry, I hate to keep jumping in like this. I don't mean to.
okay.
Civil's not represented in this meeting, and they are aware of that. We've had to accommodate on the sites. So I do know that Cormac, the civil engineer, has thought about in their planning of the roads. So
Okay. And is that also tied in with the lighting? Street lighting, that sort of stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's information that's going to come, I guess, as part of the application.
Correct.
Okay. Did you guys do any SEPTED analysis?
there hasn't been that yet.
Okay. I noticed on a couple of your very nice looking model shots, some white elevations. Are any of those facing north?
Any of the white elevations, did you
Yeah.
say?
Yeah, it looks like you've got white hardy panel or something. Is any of that
Sure.
facing north?
There will be some parts of each building, depending on the color scheme, that will have white siding facing north. Yes.
Okay. I think that's it for me. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Julian. David Arnott.
Hello. Yeah, the question about the units with the ability to have a lock-off suite, does that have additional parking available on driveway or elsewhere?
There will be remote stalls for those parking. So they're adjacent to the buildings where we have lock-off suites.
Okay. They're not the visitors spaces?
That's correct. They're separate assigned parking.
Okay. Just trying to pull up the. So one of the DPA guidelines talks about, avoiding monotonous building imagery. Do you feel that the building typologies are suitably different enough to kind of differentiate, where my house is versus my neighbor up the street?
Yeah, I believe that we have differentiated the unit type setup. We've got 2-story homes that will have main massing gables that are smaller than the adjacent units across the street, which will have a 2-story gable. We have a lot of stepping of units across the site, which will give each building facade its own kind of identity, as well as the change of color. We have 3 different color schemes. Each of those color schemes has 2 key colors that are getting applied to the building blocks as well. So we feel like there will be enough differentiation as you drive down any of these roads.
Okay.
I would just add one thing to that, David. I see that when you look at these drawings, it would feel that way. What we tried to do is, and I think we finally got it on this project, is something quiet, reserved, and simple, which is really hard to do in townhomes. Where the differentiation and wayfinding will come is in the topography, like the grading and whatnot is what's not obvious in these drawings. And I think that'll, allow people to know exactly where they are and differentiate.
Yeah. Did the architectural team consider different materials rather than just differing the color of the same material?
We felt that the use of the materials that we had selected best kind of works with the character that we were trying to achieve here. So like switching to a shingle, for example, it would lose that Scandinavian feel, that simple, clean feel that we were looking to achieve here.
Okay, cool. That's all my questions. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, David. Kareem?
Yes, thanks for the presentation. Most of the questions I was going to ask got asked already. My remaining question is regarding step code. You know, with step code 4, I'm assuming the assemblies are going to be quite thick, and I didn't get a sense. I don't know if you had a chance to look at the elevations. Everything is so neat, and the window frames are so minimal, and I don't think that will be the case. I don't know how you're treating this. I think based on the assemblies of what I've been looking at, you will end up with really thick walls. So if you could speak about that a little bit.
Yeah, we haven't begun any energy modeling or any studies into the assemblies yet. Obviously, there will be outboard insulation and things like that that beef up the walls, but I'm confident that we'll be able to achieve the crisp, clean lines, that the trims, the minimal trims that we're proposing around these windows. We are working through very similar detailing up at Highline right now, which is under construction. That is step code 3. We don't have outboard insulation, but looking at how we have built that project, I'm confident that we'll be able to achieve this look that we are proposing. But there is some work to do with our energy modeling as we roll into construction documents.
Yep. Thank you. That's all from me.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kareem. Jamie?
A couple of the questions I had were already kind of addressed by Luke around pedestrian access and kind of the broader context of the side edges. So I've got one question. I heard that there's no gas supply to buildings with no gas appliances, but there seems to be chimneys on, at least on the duplex units. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's a couple of chimneys scattered across key elevations across the site. Those are decorative only.
Okay. And then just in terms of accessibility, is there an adaptability standard that's being followed for any of the units, or is it kind of deferring to BCBC, or what's governing, you know, whether units are getting, I guess, adaptable bathrooms and blocking or anything like that?
So
what kind of what standard is the project following, or is there a hard standard?
So we aren't looking to do any adaptable suites on this particular pocket of development, given the extreme slope of the site. As Kevin had mentioned in his at the beginning of the session here, Highline has some ground level adaptable homes, which we've met kind of the requirements set out in the BCBC, as well as lot C and D, which are the next pockets of development down the hill, will be meeting those requirements as well.
Okay. And then just looking at the duplex units, the garages that sort of front forward, I think that those are the areas where there's a variance for a short driveway. Is there any access to those, the roof of those garages? Is there a roof deck there, or any sort of use of that space facing the street?
There is not, no.
And then is there any requirement in the project for an indoor amenity space of any kind, or is it just the outdoor?
It's just outdoor right now.
Okay. Yeah, that's everything for me.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jamie. Kat?
Hi. I wasn't part of the ADP when Highline went through, and I'm also not sure with lots C and D, but I didn't see any public art planned for this phase. So I was hoping you could speak to where you're planning to include that in the project.
I'll speak to that one, Ryan. So the public art, it was part of the overall rezoning. So we consolidated all of the funds for that, and we're doing a large piece from Lockton Harry, and he's going to be putting that in the community hub park, which is right in front of the hotel, right in front of Norman Rudy's. So that's where there's one, rather than having, I mean, there's different strategies, but in this case, it was agreed early on with staff that it was going to be one large piece at that location.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Is that all you got? Yeah. Yep.
Maybe I'll wait till comment.
Okay. Wonderful. Jordan?
Right, thank you for the presentation. Just two questions. The first one, there seems to be some areas of site plans where there's trees proposed and others where there seems to be very little canopy cover. I'm just wondering if you could speak to the rationale behind why trees were proposed for certain lots and not others.
Travis, do you want to
Yep.
jump in here?
Yeah, I can speak to that. I think if, let me just see here, the main areas, you'll notice on the hill slope zone that we've got trees generally across the yards. In the lower area, the southeast, we're basically surrounded by trees, like on the rear yards, and those are actually quite large and they're overhanging. And so we felt that we're already sort of in the forest there, and so may as well just kind of try to maximize our yard space and that feeling of just looking out beyond and into the forest. Yeah, and then basically, I see your point in the middle a little bit. Some of these terraced yards, there are a few less trees than there could be. I mean, that's something we could consider. But basically, yeah, again, we've got the trees on the street fronts, providing a nice street presence between the buildings and the main walkways there. And then the rear yards, we're just trying to keep open views and like open air throughout as well.
Okay, thank you. And my second question is, what age ranges were considered for the play areas?
It's generally younger. So, well, I mean, there's a social space. So I guess social spaces are especially good for teens who just want a place to hang out. And so you've got that along with these different sort of nature play obstacles, which are also kind of a fun thing to work on when you're hanging out with your friends. And then overall, just families picnicking there. The rock and ropes and other obstacles are probably more geared towards the sort of younger kids, like sort of 3 to 10 sort of age range. So nothing, I mean, when it's nature play, there's a lot of options for how to use it. And so we think younger kids will use it differently than older kids. But also things like this lead themselves to tag and other elements, and the open lawn leads itself to different uses. And so generally speaking, in spaces like this, we focus a bit younger, but we see a lot of potential for all age groups.
Okay, thank you. That's all I had.
Thanks, Jordan. And Brent.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for the presentation, guys. Just a couple of questions. Wondering if any on-street parking is just saw that I think AD is up to.
Brent, I don't know about everyone else, but we're having a bit of trouble hearing you.
Yeah, you were cutting out.
Yeah.
Can you hear? Still no.
It's just soft, so maybe try to project.
Right. Okay. I'll see if is that any better? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Question was about whether there's any on-street parking. I noticed that Road A is up to 2.5 meters wider than the other roads.
So we didn't do any parking along Road A. We are approximately, I think, 12% slope on there. So yeah, we didn't consider that at the site entry. And then we also kind of wanted to focus on the homes rather than parking along that road.
Is there a reason for the additional width of the road if there's no parking provided?
I don't believe there's any additional width at that upper section there.
It's sorry, there's a multi-use path adjacent to that road area, and it might be reading as a wider road, but it's actually the continuation of the multi-use.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, which one's the
Um,
east side?
yeah,
there?
I think it was, I don't know which drawing I was looking last night, but somewhere I saw a section that I thought it said there was 8.4 meters or something like that, but maybe it could have also just been in that intersection that it was cut. How wide is the pathway?
It's 2 meters.
Okay. And then a question about if, and I know that energy modeling hasn't been completed yet, but if it's expected that there'll be mechanical cooling.
Right now, what we're doing for cooling is making them optional, but what we're assessing going forward is incorporating heat pumps. Just doing it right up front. It's both market demand and it just, this Ryan touched on it. I don't want to go on about it too much, but we're doing a lot of envelope exploration on the Highline site. We're doing 3 test buildings. We've got BCIT involved. And what we're finding is air tightness in some of the new assemblies that we're looking at is a challenge. And anytime we're roughing in, it doesn't help us in that regard. So I think we're probably going to go to a heat pump system.
Great. That was it for questions for me.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brent. And I think I've covered all the panelists, but if I haven't, jump in. Most of my questions were, especially the mechanical piece. Just to clarify, for the, and I think I know the answer here, but for the additional units, the walk-up units, are those, is that an option at sale, or just they stand at the unit comes with a rental suite inside of it?
We're going to just probably build it because every time we think we're going to option something like that, there's enough homes of that type that if someone doesn't want the suite, they can just buy a different home.
Right.
So they'd have to be pretty fixated on a location. So we should be able to accommodate most people. So I think we're just going to build them out.
Awesome.
And we have, yeah.
And then kind of just looking at the staff report, there's a comment there about overhead weather protection. Is there a way that you feel you're addressing the requirement for overhead weather protection on these units?
I don't know if I understand that question. Sorry.
So in the report, it says, oh, sorry, it's specifically for the outdoor amenity space. So the outdoor amenity space should include areas with overhead weather protection to enable functional use of the site.
Covered seating area is what we're talking about, or
I'd say so. Yeah, I think that would be my interpretation.
I noticed that correct me if I'm wrong, Travis. I don't think we have that right now.
No, we don't. No, we just have a central space.
I think we need to incorporate that. I mean, that's just a given these days.
Yep,
I mean,
we can do that.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that answers the outstanding questions I had from the council report. Before I switch to comments, are there any other questions to be asked?
Could I just ask one quick, Carlos?
Yep, go ahead, Luke.
Thanks. I don't know, I might have missed it, but I'm assuming it's to do with the wildfire, but is there any consideration given to wood as a siding, or is it all intended to become non-combustible for that purpose?
We have all non-combustible cladding on these buildings.
And is that because of the fire spread of the wildfires, or is that just a choice?
That was just a choice, but I believe it also addresses the wildfire concerns in the report.
Okay.
It's also, sorry, it's also a choice from Polygon just on long-term durability and maintenance.
Okay. What about the soffits?
Soffits are a range of vinyl as well as hardy and potentially some TNG. We're still working through exactly where we're applying what, but we're looking at a couple of options right now.
Okay, thanks. And I saw on one of the visuals that looked like there was like a brick chimney breast on the one side of the building. Is that just a remnant of a visual, or is that
No,
proposed?
we do have a handful of chimneys applied strategically to key building faces, just to give a bit of character and differentiation across the site.
Okay, yeah, sounds good. And then, yeah, has there been any consideration given to shading and passive cooling strategies on this project?
There hasn't, no.
Okay. All good. That's all I had. That's all the extra ones I had. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Luke. Okay. Anyone else? All right. Thank you for that. I'll skip right into comments and we'll go for the same order. So Sarah.
Thanks for the presentation. So what I would encourage you to do is the width of the stairways would accommodate stair lifts. So I would encourage you to put backing at the top and bottom stairs and some power element for future adaptability. Additionally, and particularly for the units that have the short driveways, you need to ensure that the guest parking, or that there's parking options for them to park in a space that's at least 5.9 meters long. As somebody with a large van, I wouldn't be able to park there. In the amenity spaces, I would just encourage you to use the pavers to be sort of as rectified of edge as possible to reduce the vibrations from the joints, and that the picnic tables should have an extension on each end for them to be adaptable for somebody in a wheelchair. And yeah, I would encourage you as you go towards the next developments to look beyond BC Building Code for adaptability, and maybe look at the Rick Hansen Foundation accessibility certification program. It extends beyond just mobility disabilities. Something to consider. And that's my comments for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Luke?
Thanks, Carlos. Thank you guys for the presentation. It was a really nice set of drawings to look at. My comments that I've got at the moment would be, I think the mid-block connectivity for a site should kind of be reviewed, sort of in the circulation of these small communities. It's kind of nice that it's surrounded by by nature, sort of all around all the edges of the site. But I mean, when you're passing through it, it'd be nice to be able to actually walk, especially if you live down one of the ends of the cul-de-sacs, to be able to access, especially that amenity, outdoor amenity space easier, because right now it's sort of isolated down on the south end of the site. I would sort of encourage you to use that as a location to add that overhead section, actually where the path might meet. It gives people of the community a place to sort of gather and really start to use that programmed space. I have a bit of concern about bike parking, and just how the site's used in general. I don't want to become a Squamish local and a broken record, but the way the bike parking works in particular in the C units, I'm a bit skeptical as to how you can get two bikes hung up on the wall there and also two cars in there at the same time. I think it works fine and meets the bylaw in the drawing, but in practice, if a car ends up outside the building and then that's combined with a driveway that's not deep enough to actually park on, it starts to create a little problem. And in a development as tight as this, I think that might cause a problem. So I'd encourage you to, in those areas where that might happen, try and extend those driveway lengths beyond the 6 meters to meet the bylaw. There was a guideline that was spoken about mailbox height. I just say that I think they should be lower than 1.5 meters for accessible purposes. Yeah, I agree with wildfire spread and everything, things and also maintenance. The using non-combustible or not using wood products is a bit easier in terms of maintenance. But I think they could be used in the soffit to help soften up the color palette and give it a bit of warmth. That could also be included in the roof lines on the B-type units, where they have kind of a flat the end of the roof there that's flat. When the units come together and they sort of stagger, these could be aligned to try and I think that would help to provide you more of a cleaner look if you're after that minimal Scandinavian kind of aesthetic. And it could also be included by reviewing the flat roofs on the garages on the other units, like you could maybe consider a pitch. That might be a spot where you could also get warmth from wood in there as well. It might also help you to more meet the guideline about varying and articulating the buildings from unit to unit. And then also with the roof overhangs, I mean, I know it doesn't particularly go with the Scandinavian aesthetic. You don't typically see a roof overhang on those, but you do on the West Coast, and that's particularly to do with shading. So I don't know. I'm not necessarily suggesting that needs to happen, but some kind of passive cooling strategies could be employed, whether that's like shading elements in terms of louvers or overhangs. I think it might be nice to see rather than really relying on mechanical things in this day and age to use more electricity just to cool a house down. And that's it. But otherwise, thank you very much. It's like a good project.
Thanks, Luke. Julian?
Thanks again for the presentation. Really nice drawings, very easy to understand. I've just got a couple of comments. I noticed you had some tilias proposed. Just be careful if you're proposing those anywhere near where someone might park a car because of aphids. Aphids make a big mess of people's vehicles. The number of rock slide walls. So I used to actually live on Tantalus Road, and I watched the development happening up on Doward for quite a while. It does look a little Flintstone-like, so I would encourage you to employ some visual mitigation, perhaps some planting, to try and soften those rock slide walls. They look pretty severe. Not really my bag, but I'm going to throw it in there anyway. But I'm always very skeptical about white facades on the north side of buildings in our climate. They don't stay white for very long. After a few years, they start going green. Driveways, short driveways, obviously, everybody in Squamish uses their driveway to park their vehicle. Very few people use their garages to park their vehicle. So if you do have a short driveway, I'd encourage you to think about where that person's going to park their vehicle, because their garage is going to be full of toys. Entry treatments. I think it'd be nice if you had a little more variation in entry treatment in terms of how someone might navigate their way to their own home or create an identity for their own home. So perhaps using color for the front doors, things like that. I think it could be done in a subtle way, but could be done quite effectively and still maintain your Scandinavian aesthetic. I noticed just a small thing. So with your rock slide walls, you've obviously got some fall height hazards. The fencing that you're proposing with the mesh, just make sure that that's a non-climbable fence. You do have some pretty significant fall height hazards there. No one wants a toddler climbing up that fence and going off a steep edge. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thanks, Julian. David?
Hello. Yeah, thanks for the presentation. For me, I just really focused on like that building form and the character and kind of ability to place make. So, and the differentiation. So I hate to say it, just for me, it just looks like sea and sky. So we've had some comments about those ones as well. I've been comforted that I was on the ADP for the Highline, I believe, and that really benefited just because there was a lot of different colors there. There were different types of different typologies. There was cottages, townhouses. There was, you know, really wide open parks. So this one almost needs to work harder because all the buildings are 3 stories. They're very close together. So I'm kind of confused why all of the roof shapes are the same. The same window is repeated across every facade. All the front doors are red. There's large patches of white everywhere. It just, despite all the comments given, I understand the comments back. To me, it just looks far too homogeneous. I mean, you're just really relying on the color to differentiate. So really urge the developer to kind of differentiate this by, you know, adding some fundamental uniqueness, and all it would take is 1 row of buildings done in a metal or a printed metal or, some sort of additional stone or a different color, or even, it's flippant, but copying and pasting one of the building typologies from the upper and like putting it down in phase 4, it would just stop it looking so homogeneous. Do commend the addition of the suites and also the provision of parking for those. That was good to hear. Really good to see smaller unit types as well. That was the smaller townhouse, I think, is a great entry point for people in Squamish, and the affordable units. And commendable as well, scattering the affordable units amongst the development. So really commend you for that. So I'm really for this development. I would just love to see it look less homogeneous. Thanks.
Thanks, David. Kareem?
Yep. Thanks again, Ryan and Mark, for the presentation. I agree with David and my colleagues here. I think some more thought could be put into ways, non-expensive ways of just adding variety and a little more playfulness. I personally love the Scandinavian aesthetic. Again, I'm just worried that it'll be a difficult task, and we're all gonna face it at some point with the step code as walls become thicker. How we're gonna treat those punched windows, and how we're gonna treat siding and trims around them, and so on and so forth. I'd hate for it to lose that look because of the exterior insulation and so on. So hopefully you can maintain that look. I'm also I don't remember who mentioned it, but I'm kind of sad that those tops of garages that are not utilized. I went back and looked at the plans, and it seems, if I'm not mistaken, they're just 2 bedrooms facing the top of the garage, and I don't know if there's a difference in level, or what the reason is not to put a door to one of these bedrooms and allow them to use that. Especially depending on the orientation, maybe it'll be the sunnier side to put a couple of chairs and sit outside. But you have your reasons. That's all from me. Thank you.
Thanks, Kareem. Jamie?
So I'll just echo what Kareem and David have said about, I suppose, just a lot of typological consistency, that they're all kind of 3-story townhomes, and that sets the project up for a lot of repetition that maybe could be avoided with little or no cost implication, just a second pass over some of the cladding decisions. And then just going back to what Kareem was saying about the duplex units, so giving them access to that large roof space would be good. I do think that entry condition to those duplex units, I know there's not many of them relative to the whole development, but I think the doorway is set back a really long way from the front. They've also, I guess the units are mirrored, so you've got a set of 2 double car garages next to each other, close to the street, and it kind of makes the front of the house look like a kind of the back face facing a laneway rather than the front. So perhaps copying them side by side rather than mirroring the layout, so you can break up the sort of flat frontage of such a large amount of parking or garage doors so close to the street. I think from an accessibility point of view, there are things that can be done even with the site the way they are. So I think beyond what your sort of code requirements are, I'd encourage the applicant to look at the CMHC's Universal Design Guidelines, or even VBBL's Adaptable Dwelling Unit guidelines, because they both are applicable to multi-story dwelling units. So whether it's for this development or else for future developments, I think there's more that can be done within the typology of a townhome from an accessibility point of view. I think project should be commended for excluding fossil gas from the project. So I hope that decision continues and materializes. So aside from reducing the carbon emissions, it's also better for air quality in the homes not to have gas cooking. And then you'll also future-proof the occupants against carbon tax rises and things like that. So I think that's commendable. And then a couple of small things, I guess, picking up on what Luke said, I think there's opportunities for enhanced pedestrian movement on the site, either mid-block or thinking about edge conditions and connections to existing and future pathways. The site's got a really long kind of edge condition, and it's difficult to really anticipate how that'll be used in the future from the drawings. But I think even within the site and coming down through the various levels of streets mid-block, there's room for improvement there. And then similarly, the outdoor amenity, I think, could be located a little bit more sensitively, so that it's visible on the way in and out of the site, so that you pass it on daily on the way in and out. I think it would be used more if it wasn't sort of tucked away behind a row of housing. But site planning is difficult for this kind of typology. You've got a lot of cars to move around, lots of length of road, and lots of contours to cross. So I'm kind of understanding on that front, and that is it.
Thank you. Sorry, Kat?
Sorry. Okay. You cut out and I couldn't remember if it was me or not. So I love that you're working with Halakton. I was with him earlier today, actually. I know that project will be great. And I understand the idea to put greater funding into one big project, but I think there are ways that you can perhaps bring some small public art things into the rest of the site. So we didn't get to see what the waste area looks like, and the bike area hasn't been shown either in this meeting. So I don't know if it could be something where, since you're already working with him, you get him to give you some type of design that could be put into like a metal cutting type thing, and then you could reuse that design over the site in certain ways. Or if maybe there's some of the picnic tables are painted by a local artist, but just some low cost ways to make sure that there's some art across the rest of the site instead of just one area where this is implemented. And that's all.
Thanks, Kat. Jordan?
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciated the response to my question around tree canopy coverage, and yeah, I would encourage you to explore additional opportunities for that, especially within the interior of the development. As far as the play area, it's the challenge level of it seems quite low. Like it's definitely to a younger age group, and I do like the bicycle element that you proposed there. I thought that was unique and creative and very Squamish, but something maybe in between that level of more adventurous play and some of the more naturalized, less intimidating elements like the stepping logs and the boulders could be explored, just to get a little bit more interest out of that space. And that's all I have.
Thanks, Jordan. Brent?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, following up a couple of my questions, I think that seeing some sort of passive heat management strategy would be great. Adding heat pumps is a great option as well, and but still from a comfort perspective, I think that especially the upper units, the glazing is going to be pretty intense, and it's going to be pretty warm regardless on a hot sunny day. Yeah, a comment around access, especially for pedestrian and bikes. I think that access at the south end through Norman Rudy's could be a really attractive route for people who are looking to walk or bike into Garibaldi Estates and kind of do their shopping or access some amenities. It allows a route that's significantly flatter and probably quite a bit quicker. So ensuring some sort of access through there, whether that's trails or pathways, I could see that being a really desirable route that lots of people would choose to use, especially if there's a bit of a short time savings. And then another comment around pathway. I think that the 2 meter wide pathway is a little bit insufficient if you're looking to use this as a multi-use path, and recognizing that it connects through Lot A. And so I don't know what Lot A is, but recognize that the paths on Dowad are at least 3 meters wide, I believe. So I think that trying to match that 3 meter width would be preferred for the pathway. Yeah, and then speed is another thing that I think could turn into an issue for circulation within the site. As someone had noted, there's a lot of units and quite a bit of roadway and grade, and thinking about speed management from day one instead of what you see in lots of townhouse parking areas where sort of bolt-on speed bumps that are added. So whether that's looking at pedestrian crossing opportunities and having raised crossings, or some sort of changes in paving materials that could provide some variety as well as act as a bit of passive speed management, I think that would be something that would be worth exploring. And then I'll kind of echo the comments from David and Kareem, and I think that, yeah, the project, great to see a lot of the additions to the dispersed affordable units, as well as the lock-off suites, I think are great ways to kind of help our community continue to grow in a way and provide different options for different people. But I think that the project itself could benefit from a bit more variation in cladding material and whatever, to provide a bit of differentiation between the units, as well as try to minimize repeating a look that is hopefully not the only look that Squamish is known for. I think that we want unique developments that create excitement and take advantage of the beautiful setting that it's in. That's all for me. Thanks.
Thanks, Brent. And I'll echo a lot of comments that have been said already, but try to add something new. I think there's a lot to like about the project and the plans that were provided to us. Certainly enjoy the steel elements, and I actually really like the choice of brick for some of the chimney areas over the rendered stone of the previous phase, and I encourage you to incorporate more of that brick if it's feasible within the project. There was one rendering that showed the backyards where both sides are flat. In that case, it may be prudent to add a tree or two there, just to add some more privacy between the yards. I know, you're looking at out at your neighbor, and I think the fences that don't provide much in the way of privacy, so it could be something to consider. Just a note, because I was looking at these today, as depicted in the renderings, you may just want to get some samples of your vertical V-groove siding to ensure that the depth of that groove is going to get the visual quality that you want when it's actually applied to the building. Like I know the one I was looking at had square channels, and it had deeper grooves that might be worth looking into just to get that effect, which in the rendering I think looks quite nice. I want to acknowledge the challenge of building a step 4 in this setting, and industry, how all the developers in the industry are kind of rising to this challenge, and there are stones and a lot of ways to tackle these projects. And to say that it's great that you're offering cooling as an option, because I think no matter what, a lot of these buildings will require mechanical cooling, especially with the heat domes that we experience from time to time. I agree with Kevin with your comments on the bylaw, driveway depths and the minimum and then a maximum. I think it was reactionary to one specific project in town, and part of the way to mitigate that is through design, and not driveways is one of those ways that I think you mitigate it through design. And it's important to note that all of these units have a double car driveway, which should help alleviate that. So I think that variance is supportable. I definitely agree that those rooftops look wonderful for something. So duplex units, if even if there's a ladder up the side where you could, a small garden box or something, it would be great, because I think it's probably going to be quite attractive space, and we know people will do it. Commend you on the affordable units and the way they're mixed in the community. That's the way I think we should be doing it across our community. And I'll comment that I think the covered space, especially on the downhill units, and that's what my original comment was about, is quite attractive. And so having that outdoor covered space provided with those units is something that I think we want to see in Squamish more. And so that's a summation of my comments. Is there anyone else who wants to comment before we go to moving a recommendation? Not seeing anyone, I'll read them out. So we have 4. A, that the advisory design panel supports the project as presented and does not need to see this project returned for further review. B, that the advisory design panel supports the project in general and would like the applicant to work with staff to resolve the following recommendations. C, that the advisory design panel would like the applicant to resolve the following recommendations and return to present the revised project to advisory design panel. Or D, that the advisory design panel does not support the project as presented for the following reasons. Does anyone want to throw a potential recommendation out there for us to discuss? Kareem?
Yeah, I think, I mean, just listening to everyone's comments and questions, I think the team could work with staff on these comments. I personally don't see any major issues here. It seems most of them are regarding siding and colors and things like that. So perhaps we could go with that choice.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone who wants to add to that, or should we just bring it to a vote? I guess, do I have someone second B for the recommendation? Sarah? All those opposed, we'll say. So if you're opposed, raise your hand. Okay, so it looks like we're all in favor that we move potential recommendation B. And so just, I erased my whiteboard as I went. You fool. So I guess just to summarize the things that were generally discussed, you know, I'd say within the context, it would be good that those, specifically the pedestrian connections, are probably detailed a bit more clear, especially when it goes to council, and that where there's opportunities for those are potentially explored within the grading plan. We did talk, you know, at length, I think, about adding some of that variability within either the building form or the color palette or front doors or some way that we can create some distinction within the development. Anyone else help me out here?
We talked about.
Go ahead, Karen. Yep.
Oh, I was going to say we talked about the white color and the possibility of north-facing facades becoming green. We talked a little bit about introducing First Nations art and sort of dispersed all over the site as opposed to one big art piece. We talked about the garage, or the top of the garage, and utilizing it. Yeah.
And then I think we discussed and maybe even got some agreement on a covered area within the public amenity, outdoor amenity space. And I think there are some general comments on the landscaping that are to be considered, specifically planting types and maybe the number of trees in some spaces. Okay. I think that should provide a clear list of the panel's recommendations. So the next agenda item I don't see anything under council or correspondence. Roundtable discussion. Does anyone have anything to discuss? Nope. Well then, can I get someone to move termination? Sarah, second by Jamie. Anyone opposed? Hopefully not. Wonderful. Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks everyone.